We are talking journals today, my entire journal ecosystem, if you will. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through all the different ways that I use my journals, which may seem excessive to some, but I promise you, to me, they are all necessary. I use journals to process how I'm feeling. I use it to creative journal, which has been my #1 hobby since I was a kid, and mainly just use it as a way to document my life. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Mel. If you're not new, welcome back. It's good to see you. On this channel, I talk about all things self-care and being the best version of yourself. And you guys have really been requesting to see my journal. So we're finally doing this. I know you wanted to see my creative journal, so I'm doing you one better and showing you the entire journal ecosystem. I'm gonna give you a peek into my thought process, what journals I use, what I look for in a journal, what tools and pens I like, and we'll talk through some of my planner plans for 2026. So if that sounds good to you, grab yourself a cozy beverage, maybe grab your journal and take some notes, and let's get started. Was anyone else obsessed with Amelia's notebook growing up? I will put a picture on the screen and hopefully this jogs a core memory for you. Every week, my mom would take us to the library and I would check out one of these Amelia's notebooks. And that's where I really think that my journaling obsession started. I was obsessed with those books, and it really started that idea of having a written journal, a written diary, but adding in some of these cute little pictures, stickers, and making it my own. Throughout my whole life, I've always had a notebook going. I always had a diary. I've always really loved pens and stationery. In high school, I was really into scrapbooking and collaging, very into Tumblr, of course. And then I just kind of dropped it in college. Obviously, you're doing other things then. And I picked it back up in post-grad, and it was very much Dear Diary type journaling. But in the past 5 years, I've kind of played with bringing it all together. So a little bit of scrapbooking, a little bit of collaging, a little bit of Dear Diary, of course. And now I feel like it's basically a combination of everything that I've been doing throughout my life. It's definitely easier to show you than tell you. So let's go over to my writing desk and I'll walk you through all of it. There are 5 main journals now in what I would consider my current journal ecosystem. This is my main one that I talk about a lot. This is the Sterling Ink Common Planner. I have tried a lot of different books in the past. I was also a really big bullet journaler. So kind of this combination of planning and kind of, oh my gosh, these are so funny to look at. And pasting some things in, trying to do some different headers and playing with calligraphy and such. So I have a lot of these Leuchtturm books. I have a lot of Leuchtturms. I went through about at least 1 or 2 a year. And this was really where I was trying to figure out my own journaling style by doing habit trackers and gratitude and looking at other YouTubers and kind of how they did things. But this is kind of where I started to figure out what I like to do, which is not have to draw everything out. And the first person that I saw doing more creative journaling in a planner was Claire from online. She's a huge inspiration to me. I think she has such a unique POV and she shares so generously so much journaling content over the years. But she journals primarily in Hobonichi products, which I have tried out, but Sterling Ink is just a little bit more my aesthetic. And she had journaled in a B6 Common Planner. And I was like, yep, I want that. I'm gonna do that. What I like about journaling in a planner is that it's dated already for you. There's enough structure already set up so you don't have to go in and draw everything. And it's a nice little time capsule of that year. So this book, it starts out with an overview of the year. You get that calendar layout. I always paste in my vision board. I like keeping track of the temperature every day. That's just fun to me. Anytime that I bring this to a coffee shop and I'm working on it, a barista will always be like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool. And then there's these quarterly pages where there's 3 months at a time, and I use this to track my workouts. And then it goes into these monthly pages, which I'm gonna be honest, I really struggle with and don't really use. I've tried a couple of different crazy things to try and make them work for me and haven't quite nailed it. I don't remember what I did last year in these. I don't know if I had anything on them. I didn't really use them last year either. I would kind of write down big things. Like, this is kind of cute. I could have kept doing this, I guess. But I just haven't figured out how to make it work in this one. But then you go into these weekly layouts, which I also don't really use in the way that they're intended to be used. But I've made this work for me, and I've been doing it this way for over a year now. I write down what I read, what I watched, what I listened to, and then gratitude, joy. Sometimes I just write down like what happened that day, which will come in handy for my 5-year journal, which we'll get to. And I know these are so minimally decorated, like this is not a work of art by any means, but I want the barrier to entry to be so low. Like all I have to do is put down a piece of washi tape, do my little tombow, I pick out a sticker, and then before I go to bed every night, I fill this out for the day. And it's just one column, 4 things I'm keeping track of. And I want to keep track of this because I think in 10 years, it'll be so cool to see what I was reading, what I was listening to, like just pages and pages of this, what I was watching, and you know, what kind of spoke to me that day. And this is really helpful when I'm trying to back journal because I can just reference this page and it gives me a better idea. It kind of jogs my memory of what was going on then. And then after the weekly pages, it's just blank. So it's all this blank grid paper, which I love a grid because you can kind of ignore it, or if you want a straight line, it's easier. And this differs from a Hobonichi, which is dated for every day, and why I personally like the sterling ink, because I don't necessarily want to fill a page a day. Kind of have that option, and you can make these pages really whatever you want them to be. So I started last year in this beautiful, this is actually a forest green, hopefully it shows up on camera. And yeah, this was my first time kind of playing with this, and I was doing stickers and pasting things in and keeping track of temperatures and what books I was reading, and just having a lot of fun with, oh my gosh, hitting 1,000 followers on TikTok, so funny. I was obsessed with this spread from the Olympics too, and kind of including a lot of media and things that I know I was gonna wanna look back on albums I listened to, Dancing with the Stars, Wicked, you know, all these things, what markets I was doing. And I feel so fondly about this journal. I feel like it really captures my style a lot. And the year before that, I actually had this huge, hopefully you can see this. This is an Archer and Olive, and I was doing more what I would consider scrapbooking. So this was a trip to Italy, you know, different things that happened, and I would consider this more scrapbooking. And I definitely switched into more journaling, less like just relying on pictures and pasting in different things with this, and switching to this smaller notebook. So I consider this common planner in the B6 size my perfect size. I just feel like it's the perfect size where it doesn't take me that long to fill up the entire page, but it's big enough that I can still get everything down that I want to. I honestly have a lot to backfill on this journal. In the beginning of the year, I was really trying to challenge myself to write a full page a day, and I've just realized I'm not really that kind of journaler. Like, this isn't as exciting to me, even though maybe I've recorded more than the pages in here with how full they were. I definitely like a full page a lot more than, you know, having so much white space, and that's just a personal preference. Yeah, there's a lot of blank pages. Like, there's a couple months sometimes where April, I really wasn't in this book at all, and that's okay. This is a hobby. That's not really what this is all about, is making sure like every page is full. It's more that I want somewhere that I can, you know, be a little bit creative, document my life, and yeah, just really enjoy this hobby, which I get a lot of enjoyment out of. So this is my creative journal. This is where I spend the most time usually, and what I really aim to get filled up by the end of the year. Next is my morning pages book. So I have been doing The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, but before that even, I really like to have one of these Target notebooks going at all times. And this is very much like a Dear Diary, writing in script, filling these out. I would say usually I go through 3 to 4 of these a year. I might end up having 5 this year with The Artist's Way, because you're doing 3 pages a day, which really adds up. But I just get these at Target because I run through them so quickly. I want something that's really cheap. I have found that I do not like a spiral bound notebook. I really prefer the bound book. Again, just personal preference. I don't like when I'm writing how it kind of hits the end of your wrist when you get to the end of the page. I have definitely figured out that I like a bound book. The next part of my system is my work planner, and this was something new that I tried this year. In the past, I've used, you know, a planner from Target, I've used a Hobonichi Weeks, or I've just gotten blank notebooks and just written in them, but I liked the idea of this. This is the Daily Planner by Sterling Ink. This is an A5 size, so you can see this is the B5. It's just a little bit bigger, and I found this year that I just really didn't need this. This has an entire page a day. As you can see, it's blank. In the beginning of the year, I thought this would be helpful because I could time block on this side and then write my to-dos on this side, and I did a little bit of this, but what I found is that I just do not need this big of a notebook for work. For seeing clients and everything, I don't really want any of that information, anything that's HIPAA. I'm not putting that in this journal anyway, and my online scheduling software actually actually has a lot of great digital planning things that I can use, like setting tasks and stuff. So I just have everything exclusively over there. So I'm really just using this for content, honestly, coming up with ideas. And like you can see, I just kind of like write out different ideas. Sometimes I'm making checklists to follow. This, I was planning out the journal ecosystem video you're seeing now, and I just don't necessarily need this. And I mean that because this is an expensive planner. I can just get a cheap notebook and do brainstorming that way. I don't necessarily need a planner to do that. And I'll talk about this more in my 2026 plans. If you are someone who likes to schedule out your days and have a to-do list, I do think this is a nice setup. In the beginning of the planner, there is a calendar layout, and then it just jumps right into the daily pages. So this is really nice if you need that, if you know you go through a page every single day. I've also just realized the A5 size is a little too big for me. This was nice to try, but I won't be bringing this into 2026. Then we have the 5-year diary, 5-year journal. This is also from Sterling Ink. You'll notice that I am a little bit obsessed with them. This is, I'll just find a blank one for you. So a 5-year journal, there's a space for 5 years on each day of the year for you to write something that happened, what you were feeling, if there's anything in the news you want to write down. And what I like about this one, again, it's undated, and she gives you stamps so you can just fill in the years. So you could start this at any time, which I did. I did not start this on January 1st. I started this on February 20th, which was my 30th birthday. And I'm now on, you wouldn't know from this page, but I'm now on my 2nd year of this. I'm 31 now. So I love that this matches my decades instead of it being, you know, like 2020 to 2025. This is 5 years of one of my decades in my 30s. This is definitely more of my Dear Diary. This is exactly what happened that day. Very personal. I am thinking about things that I will find interesting in 10 years. Obviously, there's a lot of days where it's like, I went to work, I came home, I watched TV, I went to bed. That's not really that interesting. Or like, I woke up and I felt kind of blah. Like, there's gonna be so many days like that in my life. I don't need to keep writing that. So I do sometimes write, like once a month, I'll write down all the books I read that month. I recently in November, this day, I wrote my November curriculum. Like, that's something that will be really interesting in a couple years. Like, what was I interested in? What did I want to work on? What was I learning? And as you can see, I have a lot of blanks. I'm still working on a list of dates that I have to go back. It kind of varies by month which notebook I am prioritizing more. When I'm in a good rhythm with this, it's so good and I love it. It's definitely a goal of mine by the end of the year to be completely caught up on both 2024 and 2025. And right now I'm on track to do it, so it'll be fine. But I love this. I highly recommend if you are looking to just start with one. I feel like this is a nice low barrier to entry. All you have to do is fill in one square every day. You can write 1 to 2 sentences if you wanted to, and you'll have this beautiful record of your life. And last week we have kind of a new addition to my notebook, my journal ecosystem, is my curriculum notebooks. So if you follow my channel, you know I've been doing this thing called the personal curriculum. It was a trend on TikTok and I've kind of adopted it. And some of these notebooks I already had, like, you know, I love the Leuchtturms from bullet journaling. And then these are called Paper Age. I just got them on Amazon. They're definitely not as nice paper quality wise as the Leuchtturms. I hope I'm saying that right. But these are definitely more affordable. This is about $25 and this one is like $11, $12 on Amazon. So I got a couple of these and I've just labeled them with some of my main curriculum topics. So my herbal medicine unit, my health unit, I have one for business, and I'm planning on using the Paper Age ones to build out my curriculum as I add more units to it. But I really like taking notes on the curriculum work that I'm doing. And I like that I'll be able to keep adding to it under the same topic, be able to read through all the different books and all the different resources I use to accumulate that knowledge. So this is new, but these are definitely notebooks that are in my rotation. As far as favorite supplies, I like to put a clear cover on my creative journal. This is also like scrapbook paper that I put in the cover. It's just plain. It doesn't look like this. I just think it's kind of fun and add some color to things. I think I did the same thing in this one. Yeah. And then I usually put stickers in there too. The clear cover is nice because you can still see the color, but it keeps it protective, especially if I'm throwing it in my bag and if I'm gonna go journal at a coffee shop or something. I do really like this Moterm cover for my A5 work planner. This is the pebbled teal color. It's A5. It's a Moterm planner. It has a little pen loop on it too, and different pockets, which I honestly haven't used because I don't really put stickers or anything in this planner. I am thinking, since I'm not going to use this in 2026, that I'm going to put the 5-year in this cover. It'll look so pretty. I'm going to be using this for 5 years. I definitely want to make sure it's protected. It's held up great. This really doesn't leave my nightstand, so I haven't felt like I needed a cover or a clear cover. I also love the way this feels, so I haven't wanted to put the clear cover on it, but I think this is going to move into this cover at the end of the year. By far, my favorite pens are these Pentel Clenas. This is in 0.5. I also have them in 0.4. I use these for pretty much all of the Sterling ink notebooks. What I didn't mention, if you're completely new to these, is this is a very thin paper, and that's what makes this so lovely to write on. This is called Tomoe River paper, and if you're familiar with Hobonichi, it's the same type of paper. Really, really thin. The pen just glides on the page. It's a wonderful writing experience, and I really like using these pens on that type of paper. For my more morning pages, my more Dear Diary journal, I like to use this Energel. This is a Pentel Energel. I have had this pen forever because it's really easy to refill. You can just buy these refills and keep using the pen. It's more of a true gel pen that you can write really quickly on the page, especially if you're writing in cursive. I really like these pens, and I've actually gifted these a lot and people have loved them too because it's a nice refillable option. This is a new addition. Actually, I found this at Target. This is a nice little pen holder, and I keep my favorite highlighters, which are mild liners, in here. So when I'm doing my Artist's Way reading or my nonfiction reading, I like having these handy, and yeah, this is nice. It just kind of keeps everything in one place. This is one of my favorite additions I got. This is a Delphonics pouch. It keeps everything in one place. I say that, but I'm also looking at all these other supplies out here, but this is what I will travel with if I'm bringing my common planner outside of the house. And it does fit in here if I take some things out, but I have all of my Tombos. So these are my favorite markers to write with, all these different colors. I've got some washi tapes in here, which I like to put down. I do have a Canon IV printer. It's not the best, I will say, if you're looking into different printers, but it is nice to have a convenient option, especially if you're traveling, you're on the go. At a coffee shop, it's nice to be able to print things out. I use these tape adhesives to paste down any pictures that I'm adding. I really like adding pictures to my creative journal, and I do find these to just be the best. They're kind of expensive and you go through a lot of them, but part of the hobby, you know how it is. These Tombow Fudenosuke, I don't know if I'm saying that right. These are great for doing any of the black lettering that you might have seen. So any of this lettering is done with those pens. The lettering for this, and all these headers was all done with these pens. Definitely one of my favorites. These are top 3 for me. I also have some gel pens here. Always good to have a pencil on hand. Some different black pens too. And then this is my little envelope of trash, essentially. These are scraps that I want to paste into my journal. I've got business cards in here. I've got little pictures I want to go in, and obviously pictures of my dog Lola. So I keep that tucked in here too. Other supplies I do have this binder, which is filled with stickers. It's filled with different magazine scraps, things that you never know if I'm gonna want to put in my journal. And look at that, I have the perfect picture to put in. This is honestly a really nice way to organize things because these scraps can just take over, and sometimes I do have to go through and just throw some things out if I know I'm not going to be using them. But I get things from Pinterest, a lot of magazine cutouts. Honestly, that's a nice way to get some different images. This way I can kind of see everything. It's a little bit easier than just how I did it before, which was just like having a box on my desk. And then I do have a couple of these Happy Planner sticker packs. This one's new. I really like it. It has butterflies on it and just different stickers. I don't really like the planning stickers, but I do sometimes like a seasonal sticker to just kind of paste in. Those are kind of my main supplies that I use. As far as my routine with journaling, if I'm doing it every day, kind of what it looks like to fill up this book, fill up my other books, it does kind of vary. And I go through months where I'm really spending a lot of time journaling. Right now, I'm really into journaling, so I'm spending more time on it. But I will definitely have months where I'm not really working on it and I'm having to do a lot of back journaling. For the Common Planner, I like to fill out that weekly spread where I'm writing down my reads, my watches, my joy, what I'm listening to that week. I like to do this before I go to bed every night. It takes me literally like 2 minutes to fill that all in. And then on the weekends, I like to spend between 1 to 3 hours working on the daily pages. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't have time to do that. It is something that I prioritize because I love this hobby and that's how I want to spend my time. That's what works for me. I like having a longer stretch of time so I can really, let myself relax, be creative, see what ideas come up. Because in the beginning of the year, when I was really trying to do a page a day and doing it in 10 to 15 minutes, I felt like I was just trying to get something down and it wasn't necessarily super creative, and that just didn't leave me feeling as fulfilled as, having a really full page that's a little bit more thought out and color coordinated. So that's what works for me, is kind of during the week, just kind of getting the bare bones down, writing down things that need to be recorded so I don't forget them, and then doing more of the creative on the weekends. For the 5-year diary, I right now am catching up and I'm trying to do this every single morning. I write down the day before, and then right now I'm having to catch up on a couple days, but I like doing the next morning, doing the day before. That's a really good routine when I can get into that rhythm. And like I mentioned, I'm doing the artist's way, so I'm doing morning journaling every single day. But with these notebooks, I usually just, whenever I feel like I need to write something down, process it, have a Dear Diary moment, whether that's before bed, in the middle of the day, in the morning, that's when I'm using this. So that can kind of vary. As far as 2026 plans, I will be going in February into my 3rd year in my 5-year journal, which is so fun. I cannot wait for this all to be filled up. And like I said, I'm probably going to put this in the Moterm cover. For my creative journal, I am going to get this exact same planner, the B6 Vertical Full Year Common Planner in the mist blue. I'll put a picture up. I just ordered it, but I haven't gotten it yet. And I'm really excited. I feel like I learned a lot this year in this journal. I feel a lot more attached, honestly, to my 2024 journal. I feel like this style just really worked a lot better, and I'm glad that I tried some new things this past year, especially with the page a day, because I realized that didn't work for me. I don't really feel like I need to do that, and I'd rather have a full, beautiful creative page, maybe with some more things pasted in. That's why it's always nice to use other accounts that you see as inspiration. I saw all the girls with beautiful Hobonichi planners and they were doing a page a day, and I was like, I want to try that. And then, it wasn't for me, and that's okay. I love this page. To me, this is a perfect page where we've got some things pasted in. It's color coordinated. I've documented media in my life and a fun meal that I ate, a fun experience that I had with my parents. This is what I'm really trying to capture in my creative journal. So I'm excited to add another Sterling Ink Common Planner to my lineup. These just look so beautiful on a shelf too. This clear cover is actually from 2024, and I wish I had just bought a new one because I definitely need to buy 2 clear covers to put one on this and then my new one. When I'm storing them, this thing gets dusty and I want to make sure that they're protected. Gosh, you can already tell how much more chunk this one has than compared to last year. As far as my work planner goes, I have decided that I'm going to get 2 planners to replace this one. Well, 1 planner and 1 notebook, because this just did not work for me. So I am going to go back to a Hobonichi Weeks, which I did do a good effort of trying to find my old one. I don't know where it is, but I have used it before, and it's a nice small size. I'll put a picture up on the screen. It'll give me a nice weekly dashboard so I can keep track of the overview of the weeks and then have space for, a habit tracker, maybe a rolling to-do list. And then I'm also gonna buy a Sterling Ink notebook, something that's completely undated, not a planner, but just has the really nice Tomoe River paper that I can use to just brainstorm, scratch write. I also use this notebook for filming. So if I'm filming something for YouTube, that will go in that notebook. And once I get these notebooks, I can do an updated video for you guys. But I think it'll be a really good happy medium of having the notebook, having the small Hobonichi weeks, really easy to just throw in my bag too. And I'm really looking forward to that. And then of course, I'll also have my cheap journals that I use for more of my Dear Diary moments. I feel like I could talk about journals all day long, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If there's anything else that you want to see, please let me know. I am happy at the end of the year, once I backfill a little bit, to do a full flip through of the Common Planner and kind of show you guys more if that's something that you're interested in. And like I said, I can do a full lineup for 2026 once I get everything and kind of decide what I'm doing for the year. If you made it to the end of this video, you're a real one. We should be friends. I love nerding out about journals. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another upload. Until next time, I'm rooting for you every step of the way.